So, I've been playing Final Fantasy VIII, so you're going to be subjected to the things I create in the next few days. You know, the Final Fantasy set has definitely given me a few things to think about, like what happens when you make a card that is as fragile as the character it's based on's ego. And, well, that's where today's video comes into play. We're going to be putting together a glass cannon that will have its entire reality shattered the minute that you confront it with, well, any amount of reality, but if it gets its way, then you will basically take over the entire game with absolute brute force. Let's go ahead and talk about Seifer. Seifer Almasy is one of the main antagonists of Final Fantasy VIII, or rather, he's the lapdog of the main antagonist. You see, he's literally the Darth Vader of Final Fantasy VIII. He grows up as an orphan that gets taken in by Seed, and then over time he realizes that he can't actually make the highest rank in his organization, Seed, the same way Anakin couldn't make Jedi Master, and then decides to become the lapdog of a sorceress politician in order to get his ultimate goals or whatever, and in so doing ends up almost killing the woman that he loves, and then the woman he loves ends up going with his rival. In Star Wars, obviously, that meant that she died, but in this one, it means that she becomes the love interest of the main character in the game instead. So, there we go. There's Seifer's story. He's just doing a Star Wars, but he's got a really interesting ability. Anytime a creature we control attacks alone, it gains double strike until the end of turn. And his ability is whenever he deals combat damage to a player, we may cast an instant or sorcery card with mana value 3 or less from our graveyard without paying its mana cost and then exile it afterwards. This man is going to wreak so much havoc when we play him, but again, he's gonna be a glass cannon, so our goal is to try to win hard, win fast, and if we can't do that, then all of our dreams will be shattered before we get to the 4th disc of this game. So let's talk primary goals here. Our core strategy is going to be to clone spells, so that when Seifer casts spells from the grave, we get extra value out of them, or he just straight up clones spells out of the grave that will then clone other spells so that we can cascade them into a giant spell doubling machine. So to make that happen, we're going to use cards like Dual Strike. When we cast an instant or sorcery spell with mana value 4 or less, copy the spell, and we can get new targets for the copy. It's got Foretell as well. Then we have Display of Power. This spell can't be copied, but it copies any number of our instant sorceries that are currently on the stack. Double Cast can copy the next instant or sorcery we would cast, as does Twinferno. Whenever we next cast an instant or sorcery, it'll copy it. Repeated Reverberation does the same thing. Howl of the Horde does the same thing. And then we have Summon, GF Cerberus, and Double Vision, which can both double the spells that we cast during a turn. But what spells are we going to be trying to double? Well, I'm glad you asked. The first spell that we are going to be trying to double is going to be Elemental Eruption. This already has Storm, so we copy it for every single spell that has been cast on the stack. So Elemental Eruption gets to come out and get copied a bunch of times to make a giant army of 4/4 red dragons that all have prowess. This is already ridiculously powerful, but we've got a couple other gigantic spells to copy. One of them is Apex of Power, allowing us to exile the top 7 cards of our library and cast them until the end of the turn. If this was cast from our hand, we add 10 mana of any color. So imagine having 2 or 3 versions of a spell copy that Seifer has activated, and then just activating Apex of Power, and then being able to look at the top God knows how many cards of your deck and cast any of them in preparation for the next turn. It's not the way you normally use Apex of Power as a way to win in a Storm deck. It's going to be a prep spell, but a gigantic prep spell for no good reason. And it's got Nicol Bolas in the background, so we'll just say that it's Seifer summoning his GF, because that's all you do in Final Fantasy VIII until you learn the junction system. Then we have Full Throttle. After this main phase, there are 2 additional combat phases, and at the beginning of each combat phase this turn, untap all of our creatures. This is basically just a win con in this this deck. If we have 2 or 3 copies of copies on the stack, and then we cast Full Throttle, we get like 8 additional combat phases, and that means that Seifer gets to cast that many additional cards as we hit every single time. This thing is nutty. But hey, real quick, I just want to ask you to do me a huge favor. Please consider following me over on Blue Sky and other social media linked down below. And if you haven't subscribed already, please consider doing that as well. And if you want to financially support the show, obviously there's Patreon and a fourth wall link down there with a playmat, but you can also click on this mana pool link and pick up any of your singles that you want over there. That link gives me a kickback and helps me out a ton. Thank you very much for your time, and I'll get right back to the video. Being able to hit with Seifer is a bit of a gamble, so let's add in a 12-card Evasion package with as many of them being instants or sorceries as we can manage. Let's get the non-instant sorceries out of the way first. Tenzo Godo's Maul gives Seifer +3/+3 and trample. Cobbled Wings give him flying. Wings of Hubris gives him flying. Fleet Feather Sandals and Cloak the Bat give him flying as well as haste. Invigorated Rampage gives him 4/0 and trample. Sticky Fingers gives him evasion and the ability to generate treasures whenever he hits. Rush of Adrenaline gives him 2/1 and trample. Crash Through gives him trample and then draws us a card. Gimli's Fury gives us 3/2 and trample. Brute Strength gives us 3/1 and trample, and Run Amok gives us 3/3 and trample. Between trample and flying, we should have plenty of evasion to go around. We're also going to be protecting Seifer with a copy of Swiftfoot Boots. If we were in other color combinations, we might be able to fit more cards to protect Seifer, but alas, we're just going to have to make this the one bulwark for his fragile ego. I don't know, maybe we'll call him a chicken wuss or something, but that was an insult aimed at a different character in that game. From him, actually. That all said, that's it for the core strategy of the deck. We want to copy spells, we want big spells to be copied, and we want little spells to give Seifer evasion. And if they end up winning us the game, then that just works in our favor as well. But that's it for the core strategy. Let's talk about draw power. So our draw package is going to feature 17 cards, and that may seem like a lot, but this is a Spellslinger deck that needs to rip through its library at a pretty quick pace, and because many of these cards can discard cards out of our hand, that will work with Seifer's ability just as well. We also want many of these to generate treasures for us because we need to have fuel to cast more spells as we go. So we have Sazcap's Brew, discard a card, draw a card. It's got other text on it, doesn't really matter too terribly much. Tormenting Voice, discard a card, draw two cards. Thrill of Possibility does the same thing. Electric Revolution and Laughing Mad do the exact same thing, but these cards also have flashback on their own, which we will never ever use. Cathartic Reunion makes us discard 2 cards to draw 3 cards. Grab the Prize makes us discard a card to draw 2 cards. Demand Answers does the same thing. Collector's Vault makes us discard a card to draw 1 card, but it generates treasure tokens. Flick a Coin lets us deal a damage to a target, then make a treasure token, then draw a card. Faithless Looting makes us discard 2 cards while drawing 2 cards, and it has flashback. Again, a flashback we may never actually use. And then we have Big Score, Pirate's Pillage, Seize the Spoil, and Unexpected Windfall. All of these discard a card to draw us multiple cards, but they also generate lots of treasure tokens when we use them, which is going to be one of the more powerful things to do with Seifer. Finally, we have Inspired Tinkering, giving us an impulse draw for 3 that will also generate 3 treasure tokens. This should be enough to dig through our deck at a decent click, especially since we have so many of these guys. So now I guess we just need to go on to removal. We have an 11-card removal and interaction package with 2 board wipes, but one of these cards is not quite removal, but it is serving a removal's purpose for us. This is Liquid Metal Coating. It can cause any permanent to become an artifact in addition to its other types. Now, this card is here so that we do not fall into a trap that red usually falls into, and that is being unable to blow up enchantments or, really anything that is not an artifact or a creature with an amount of toughness. We need to be able to kill creatures that are at infinity toughness without worry, and we need to be able to blow up enchantments. So Liquid Metal Coating is here along with another card we'll talk about later so that we can transform things into artifacts to make them vulnerable to one of the most easily accessible ways for red to remove things. Case in point, A Braid can blow up artifacts or deal 3 damage to a creature. The new Suplex is just a Braid, but it exiles things, and it also is sorcery speed. Then we have Dreadmaw's Ire. This gives a creature 2/2 trample, and if it deals combat damage to a player, we can destroy an artifact they control. Reckless Airstrike can deal 3 damage to a creature with flying or blow up an artifact. Siege Smash can blow up an artifact or give a creature 3/2 and trample until end of turn. Raise the Effigy can give a creature 2/2 until end of turn, or let us destroy an artifact. Shredded Sails can deal 4 damage to a creature with flying or blow up an artifact. Overwhelming Surge can deal 3 damage to a creature and blow up a non-creature artifact. Lightning Strike can deal 3 damage to any creature or player. And then finally, we have Chaos Warp in this section, which can get rid of any permanent on the board, provided we're okay with gambling on what we give our opponents in exchange. Then we have Fire, Magic, and Chain Reaction, 2 board wipes for the deck, though obviously, if you are wanting to upgrade the deck, Fire Magic can be swapped out for a Blasphemous Act, though it should do pretty well on its own. And that does it for everything in our removal package. That should let us keep the board decently clean. So now we need to talk about ramp and mana. We are a monocolor deck, so expect this section to be very short. We want our mana rocks to be able to provide us with some kind of utility or otherwise be helpful in a myriad of situations. So, on the utility side of things, we got Liquid Metal Torque. This can turn things into artifacts, making them vulnerable to our destruction while also being a 2-mana mana rock. Plantar Atlas allows us to sculpt the top 4 cards of our deck to make sure that we have a land in them, and then put that land on the top so that we can draw it and not lose on land sequencing. Heraldic Banner can give Seifer 1/0 while also being a decent mana rock in its own right. Mind Stone is a mana rock that we can sack to draw a card later. Fractured Power Stone is here because it just does not cost a lot of money. Honored Heirloom is a 3-mana mana rock that can be used to get rid of things in graveyards. Wayfarer's Bauble can be sacrificed to get us a mountain out of the deck. Or Rich Stalactite can give us red mana, but only mana to cast instant or sorcery spells, and we can craft it with 4 or more red instant or sorcery cards in our grave in order to turn it into the Cosmium Catalyst, which can be used to grab any of those exiled cards and cast them for free. We won't always be using that, but it is a good fallback plan if Seifer becomes too expensive to cast on his own, and we have to rely on our spells for spells' sake. Then we have Unstable Obelisk, which allows us to blow up any non-land permanent or any permanent at all later in the game if we need to. And finally, we have Strike It Rich. It creates a treasure token when we cast it and has Flashback. This is really good for getting early game mana, as long as you're willing to save that treasure for a powerful and opportune moment. And, well, that does it for all of the ramp. When it comes to lands, things get really easy. We have 29 mountains and then some utility lands. A Pit of Offerings to get rid of problematic cards in the graveyard. A Spine Rock Knoll so that we can cast spells for free if need be. Myriad Landscape so that we can ramp early if need be. And Smoldering Crater, Forgotten Cave, and Desert of the Fervent that are all red lands that can cycle themselves to the graveyard if we get mana clumped. And that does it. That's the entire deck. It's very straightforward, but let's do a game test to show you what it can do. All right, we have some ramp early. We've got a couple copy spell, a removal spell, and a draw spell. This is kind of a perfectly sculpted hand. So let's go ahead and draw, play a mountain, tap it for a Wayfarer's Bauble, and then pass to turn 2. That gives us another mountain. We can crack those for the Wayfarer's Bauble so that we can get another mountain out and then pass to our opponents. Moving into turn 3, where we can play that mountain, tap everything out. There we go. And then play Seifer. Now we move into turn 4, and here's where things get kind of fun. Let's go ahead and pay 1 to put Sticky Fingers on Seifer. Now, if Seifer deals damage to people, we can generate a treasure token. Then let's pay 1, 2, 3, and get Honored Heirloom out, and then tap the Honored Heirloom for Faithless Looting. This will let us draw 2 cards, and then discard 2 cards. Let's discard this mountain and this Electrostatic Revelation. Then we have Seifer Swing, and that will generate us 2 treasure tokens because he does swing with Double Strike. Strike number 1 is going to cast our Electric Revelation, which we can use to discard this fire magic out of our hand to draw 2 cards. Strike 2 will go ahead and cast that Faithless Looting, unless our opponents have creatures on the board that need to be gotten rid of with fire magic. Let's assume that we can just go gung-ho with our strategy. That will draw us 2 cards, and then it will discard 2 cards out of our hand. Then we pass to our opponent's turns, they do their thing, and we get to come to our turn. We have a Lightning Strike in hand, which is very useful. Unfortunately, we don't have any draw spells right now, so I think what we're going to have to do is cause Seifer to delete a player. Now, how are we going to do that? Well, our creature is dealing 3 damage every strike. So, what we want to do is we want to pay 1, 2, 3, 4 after playing this land, and we want to play Repeated Reverberation. When we next cast an instant sorcery spell, we will copy that ability twice. Then we'll pay 1, 2, and we will use Siege Smash. Siege Smash will give Seifer 3, 2, and Trample, so it's going to get +9 power, making him a 12 power creature with N amount of toughness. Then we're going to pay 2 mana, and we are going to use Suplex to get rid of a problematic blocker if need be. Then Seifer is going to swing at the player that we, want to punch, and we are going to recast the Suplex, killing any other creature that we do not want to deal with. And that eliminates 1 player out of the game entirely, because Seifer is hitting them with 24 commander damage with Trample and Menace. Then we get to move on to turn 6 to try to kill the next player. Let's pay 2, play Thrill of Possibilities, throwing the Lightning Strike into the grave, and drawing 2 cards. An Overwhelming Surge, which can deal 3 damage to a creature, and an Apex of Power. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 mana. Okay, so we want to dig to make sure we can cast this Apex of Power. So let's swing Seifer at a person, and swing 1 is going to give him Siege Smash, so that his second hit hits bigger. Cast 2 is going to be the Thrill of Possibility, which is going to discard our Overwhelming Surge to draw us 2 cards. And we hit jackpot. So, now on main phase 2, we can play the Desert of the Fervent and pass to our opponents. Because in turn 7, we get to tap 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then the treasure we made really early on to play Apex of Power. This lets us exile the top 7 cards of our library. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, yep, there we go, 7. These 7 cards get exiled, and we get 10 mana that we can use. Let's use 3 of that mana instantly for an Unstable Obelisk. And then Dual Strike will allow us to copy the next spell that we cast. So let's go down to 5 mana to cast Dual Strike. The next instant or sorcery spell we cast will be able to be doubled. And for that, we are going to cast Tormenting Voice, going down to 3 mana, which discards Cathartic Reunion to draw us 1, 2, 3, 4 cards. We still have 3 mana available, so let's use that 3 mana to cast Flick a Coin. Flick a Coin is going to draw us a singular card and generate us a singular treasure token. Then, when Seifer swings at an opponent, we will be able to cast Dual Strike from the grave, meaning our next instant or sorcery spell will be doubled. And the instant or sorcery spell that we are going to double is going to be Flick a Coin. So we are going to get 2 Flick a Coins, drawing us 2 more cards and generating us 2 more treasures. And now Flick a Coin is gone, but we still have plenty of cards in our grave. We are out of mana, except for what we have here. And let's go ahead and get this Collector's Vault usable. Let's go ahead and use a treasure and the Unstable Obelisk to play the Collector's Vault. And then if an opponent has a good card, we can go ahead and use these 2 treasures to cast Shredded Sails and blow up a creature with flying or an artifact. And this means this mountain is now gone, and we have efficiently used our Apex of Power. And we have plenty of spells to cast in the next turn. And in fact, we're going to go into the next turn and see if we can't murder a player. Let's go ahead and play a mountain, and let's take a look at what we have in our grave. I'd like Seifer to be able to get some evasion, so let's try to dig for a little bit of it. Let's tap the Collector's Vault and 2 cards in order to draw a card and discard a card, and that might help us a little bit. It's a liquid metal coating. We don't need that right now. So, actually, we can use this. Let's go ahead and play the liquid metal coating. Let's make our treasure token for here. Tap the coating, pay 2, and we'll abrade a problematic creature. It's definitely dead because we turned it into an artifact and then sniped it. So, we have the Aura-Rich Stalactite. Let's go ahead and play that. Yeah, because we can use that. And then let's use Strike It Rich to generate a treasure token. And then swing with Seifer. And let's go ahead and get our 2 casts. We want a better hand right now. We've eliminated 1 player, and we need options. So cast 1 is going to be the Cathartic Reunion, getting rid of Spine Rock Knoll and Mountain to draw us 3 cards. And then cast 2 is going to be the Tormenting Voice, getting rid of this mountain in order to draw us 2 cards. And we've drawn an Elemental Eruption. That is a nasty card that I wish we had the mana to cast, but we are a little short. So that is something we'll have to cast during the next turn. But let's see, what can we do now? We can give Seifer some better evasion. We can cast Cloak of the Bat, and we can use these treasures to equip the Cloak of the Bat to Seifer. And now he's got evasion for what's probably going to be the last turn of the game. Let's go ahead and play that mountain. And, I mean, I guess Seifer can just kind of do his thing now, right? Let me go ahead and turn you over and read you real quick. Choose an exiled card used to craft this. Oh! Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 mana. Okay. We can definitely use this in a follow-up turn pretty well, actually. Yeah, we're going to use it with the Elemental Eruption. So I'm going to extend this 1 more turn to do a play. We're going to swing with Seifer after we pay 1, 2, and we give him Brute Strength. He gets 3/1 and Trample. Seifer swings, and the first hit is going to reuse the Brute Strength, and then it's going to recast the Strike It Rich. That's going to generate us a treasure token. So let's go ahead and generate that treasure token right there. Okay, so that's 2 spell casts, 3 spell casts that have happened so far. If we pay 3 mana and cast Heraldic Banner, that is our 4th spell cast. And then if we cast 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, we can then cast Elemental Eruption, generating a ton of tokens. That should generate us 5 dragon tokens to deal with whoever is left. So however the next turn goes, we're basically in the clear. Let's also use the Heraldic Banner in this to let Collector's Vault give us a new card. I think we're going to get rid of the chain reaction. Unless we are playing a game where somebody is playing a large enough board we need to deal with, we can kind of just fly over a board and kill a player. So the final move we're going to do for shits and giggles is we are going to turn this over, crafting a bunch of cards. So the Cosmium Catalyst is going to have Apex of Power, Chain Reaction, Repeated Reverberation, and Elemental Eruption stapled onto it. We can use this really, really powerfully, but I kind of just want to do something silly. I want to pay 2 and tap it, and I want to cast... let's see here. If we're going to cast Repeated Reverberation? Yeah, we'll cast Repeated Reverberation so that we can pay 2 mana and get 2 casts of Demand Answers. That lets us sacrifice an artifact on our board, like this Collector's Vault, to draw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cards. And that means that the Prowess ability of the dragons has seen 2 cards cast. Yeah, 2 cards have been cast so far. Let's see here. We drew a full throttle, which would have given us a ton of combats, but we don't really need that right now. We can just kind of pay 2, play Giant's Fury on Seifer. Now he's going to hit somebody for 6 damage when he hits. He hits for 6 damage. Giant's Fury gets recast from the grave. So he hits for 6, and then he hits for 9, 15. Damage-wise, players are dead, because these dragons are also punching a player. Like, these dragons have seen 3 spell casts during their prowess time. 4 spell casts throughout the turn, but 3 spell casts during their prowess time. So that is 7 times 5. 35 damage to one guy, and then 15 commander damage to the other guy. I mean, we've basically done it. The problem that you can see here is that the strategy relies super heavily on Seifer and his ability to copy our spells and extend them. This is a glass cannon deck to the nines. But when it works, it does funny stuff. Let's talk about upgrades that can help you, though. If you are upgrading this deck, one of the best things you can be doing is trying to protect Seifer better. So cards like Deflecting, Swat, and Untimely Malfunction can help curb cards that would otherwise kill him out of the way. You can also make sure to make it easier to give him haste so that he's able to do his job even if he dies. You can just cast him from the command zone and then swing and get your free casts. So Fire Crystal or Anger are going to be able to do that job for you. Tybalt's Trickery is one of the few counter spells you have access to, along with, say, Red Elemental Blast, but Tybalt's Trickery is probably the better of the two in this deck, because the goal of these counter spells is not to stop a Thassa's or something like in CDH. The goal of these is to protect Seifer from removal. So a Tybalt's Trickery is probably going to do you pretty well. Jessica's Will, also just a fantastic card to clone in this deck, and Seifer can cast it, so hey, why not? Let's also put in MDFCs like Valakut Awakening to refresh our hand, and Pinnacle Monk to refresh our spells if we happen to have one of those larger spells that Seifer can't cast in the graveyard. Also, we saw during the playtest how important treasures are in helping you just maintain your focus, so let's go ahead and put a Stormkiln Artist in here as well. Just cut the ramp pieces that you don't like out, and Stormkiln can go right in. Then we can make it easier for him to get in with everybody's just hated, absolutely despised Corey Steelcutter. Nobody in Standard is happy about this card, but giving him Trample and Haste is a fantastic way to close out games. And hell, 1/1 White Monks with Fury, with Prowess are really powerful in a deck that wants to cast a lot of spells. Then we have Ruby Medallion to make it easier to cast our spells in general, Brotherhood Regalia to make it harder to block Seifer, and you know what? Let's put an alternate win con in and Unleash Fury. If we cast Unleash Fury on Seifer, he goes up to 6 power, and then if he punches somebody, then his secondary attack will go up to 12 power, which means 18 commander damage right off the bat. Now, in a world where Seifer has a +1/+1 from anything, even like a Heraldic Banner, this is an instant kill on them. I also might suggest Patchwork Banner for the deck as well, because it can give Seifer another 1/1 from the Mana Rock Zone. So maybe we go with that. This would be an instant way to just close out the game on somebody and end them completely. Now, I do want to warn you against a couple of cards. I don't think you should be running cards like Gutter Snipe and Fiery Inscription in the deck. Yes, we're casting a lot of instants and sorceries, but we are focusing very heavily on commander damage and combat damage. So the Inscription is not really going to be doing a lot of work other than eating up a spellcast that could have been a 3-mana spellcast that goes into the grave to be recast with Seifer. I'd also suggest maybe not running Krark the Thumbless. Now, I do see the appeal to Krark, but our hand is not where we want dudded spells to go. We want them to go to the graveyard, and he has non-bow synergy with Seifer recasting things from the grave. He might just stop the spell from being cast, and then it goes to exile anyway. He just looks perfect on paper, and in execution feels kind of awful. So that's what I would do personally. I just would not touch Krark for the deck. But that said, that should be everything you need to know about running this thing, and it's very simple and very cheap. So if you want to pick it up on Moxfield, use my link in the description, and that would help me a crap ton. That all said, thank you all for watching. I hope you guys are having a wonderful Monday, and as always, everybody, insert end of video tagline here. Hey, thanks for making it to the end of the video. I really could not do any of this without all of you. Those of you watching, and especially those of you who support me on Patreon. I wanted to go ahead and take a minute to thank all of you who do that, because with YouTube being what it is these days, I really cannot do this full-time without the support from each and every one of you. Those people would be Red Joker, Purple Poundini, Jemshin, Britzkrieg, Jupe the Malignant, Michael, Ravalern, Mabbity Babbity, Astral Frontier, Tales of Atonement, Nixie-chan, Kiri Artemis, Limor Pinku, Love Bunny Games, Victorian Alchemist, I'm not saying the last part of that, and you know that, Aurora, Leela Ururaka, Arcton Arclacier, Kiratorian, Dren Hadamata, Jordan M, John L, Lord Bleck, Smiling Game Master, and Fire Shard. Thank you so very much. But since you're here, why not go ahead and try watching another one? There should be one that's on the screen right now. And if you are a patron of mine, I wanted to go ahead and thank you again for all of your support. There is still a video you could press though, if you'd like. I would appreciate it just a little bit.